A very big hello from Delhi on Tea Time. I'm Nikhil Arora. On the show today, we've got the Vice President and Managing Director of Intuit India, Nikhil Arora. Nikhil is somebody who is responsible for charting out Intuit's India for India strategy. We're going to get to know about that strategy in much more detail and take a look at the Indian MSME sector as well on the show on Tea Time today.
On the show this week, we have Nikhil Arora, Vice President and MD, Intuit India.
A lot of businesses take a short-term view. They say, okay, I'm putting that much money, what is the return? What they're not realizing is that they're losing the larger opportunity of having that information when they need in the moment.
In news, Inbee Park wins US Women's Open for third straight major title of the season. And Paul Casey wins Irish Open by 3 strokes.
Brilliant tee off, Nikhil. Welcome to Tea Time
Thank
today.
you.
The sweltering heat is not impacting your game of golf, I can see.
No, it is amazing to build up endurance in this heat. I'm sure it's same for you.
Absolutely. How did Intuit come about for you in your career?
I used to work for a company in the United States called ADP, Automatic Data Processing. So we used to compete with Intuit in the small business space. And also, I had a great appreciation for Intuit because it's one of the most innovative companies around the world, ranked by Forbes 10 years in a row as one of the top 10 innovative companies. Also, I got to run a small business in India, and that gave me an appreciation and understanding of the challenges small businesses face. So when the Intuit opportunity came, it was a no-brainer for me because it focused on small business, focused on providing solutions to them to make them more profitable. And about 18 months ago, when the opportunity knocked on my door, I was very thrilled because it's a company I've admired many years in the United States.
You spoke about the challenges of small businesses, and of course we're going to be touching upon that in much more detail on the show, but time now for me to tee off and we will continue with our conversation.
Right.
So now that we're done teeing off, let's tee off with Intuit's India strategy. What is the strategy for India at Intuit? You have an India for India philosophy. What is it all about?
We found that small businesses have the biggest challenge in India in terms of how do they manage their finances. The number one problem a small business has today is, how do I know how much money am I making? And we have a product called QuickBooks Online, and we kind of translated our products into what makes sense for India strategy. So our India strategy is focused on making sure the small businesses succeed and be profitable.
Yeah.
The 2 legs which support this strategy is around investing in Indian employees and learning from Indian ecosystem, because there's a huge amount of innovation which is happening, and we want to use that to help the small businesses. We want to serve 1 in 4 small businesses in the next 10 years. That's our vision. And our mission as a company for Intuit is to transform financial lives of customers so profoundly they can't imagine going back to the old way. So it stays the same here. We want to transform the lives of small businesses so they cannot imagine going back to the old way, and we're doing it through our initial product launches in India.
Before we come to small business transformation, first we must understand your product offerings better, because that's something that will help us understand how you're helping them transform their businesses. So what are your India product offerings like?
So small business in India there are 2 things, right? They want to be money rich and time rich. Those are the 2 elements. If you think about a small business, they are struggling with time and struggling with managing their finances. So our number one key product for Intuit is called QuickBooks. And QuickBooks today has 4.5 million users around the world. And QuickBooks Online, which is a cloud-based product, today has about 1.5 million. So we launched that product in India in October of this year. and we've been seeing a double-digit growth in adoptions in the last 6 months. And what it does is, if you're a small business, you can access your finances anytime, anywhere. So if you're a small business, you're traveling to Pune or Nagpur, you can go on your phone or go on your computer and access the same information anywhere. And also it gives you all your finances in one place. So the biggest gap which small businesses had was anytime, anywhere access, give me information in one place, and QuickBooks seems to be solving for them.
Now, something that we're witnessing in India is, of course, small businesses and the fact that they are very used to the old ways of doing things. You are somebody who is making them realize their full potential by showing them new ways through your technology. So how are you helping them transform their old ways to more contemporary ways of doing business?
So, we do something called Follow Me Homes. Intuit does that. And what Follow Me Homes is that we actually go and spend a day with a customer sitting actually in their homes, at their kitchen table, in their work or business, and get to know the entire workflow. Not only business, but how do they function in their life, because they're all interconnected. And what we have discovered is that a small business has 4 attributes, functional attribute, psychological, hospitable, and emotional. Now, functional is around, hey, I need something to solve my product, which means I need something to, for example, I need financial information, so I need a product. Psychological is exactly what you're talking about. I've been doing this on a paper and pencil, I've been doing it for, so
why should I change?
And show me otherwise. And that's where, we take a lot of effort in spending time in helping them understand why, and what it'll do, rather than saying, hey, buy the product. So we do something called onboarding, which is like, if you're a customer, you buy a product today, somebody from our team will come and actually sit down with you and walk you through the benefits, show you case studies of similar other businesses who are using it, and also kind of give you initial training. Because that's the problem which small businesses have. They don't have the talent. So when you give them the initial training, the inertia of, oh my God, this is going to be so complicated, I need an IT professional, that goes away. So that's kind of one of the ways we've been able to overcome that. And the second one is around ROI. When you tell them that, hey, actually by investing in this product, you're actually going to be better off, and here's how. When you show them that roadmap, it certainly resonates with them and they can see the value. Initial hesitation is always, it's an investment and I don't know when I'm going to see the value.
Interesting. On that note, it's time now for us to take a quick breather right here on Tea Time. On the other side of this break, we will remain in conversation with Nikhil Arora, who is the Managing Director and Vice President of Intuit India, and we will be discussing more in detail about how he is helping India transform small businesses. Thank you for staying with us on Tea Time. On this particular show, we are focusing on small and medium-sized enterprises and the barriers to the technology adoption as well, with somebody who is doing his level best to bridge the technological gap within that sector, Nikhil Arora, who is the Managing Director of Intuit. Nikhil, we were discussing about small business ecosystems in the country before. What is really the future of small business ecosystem in this country?
Small businesses form a big part of future of India. If you think of what it contributes today, it's the second highest employer segment in India. 40% of country's output comes from small businesses, and to GDP it's been contributing 8 to 10%. In terms of the future, I think innovation, 1 out of every 2 actually innovative service in India comes out of small businesses. And if you think that can be commercialized, India will leapfrog in terms of its growth. And the challenge for small business today is, they don't have enough ecosystem support to kind of enable that. They're running day to day, they're running in terms of scrambling to get their business done and not thinking about how can they contribute to the larger ecosystem. So if you think of 26 million MSMEs today in India and growing at 6 to 8%, even 10% or 20% can be enabled to contribute innovation. Our country's GDP will grow a lot, and I think companies like Intuit and some of the other ones are actually working towards helping translate that innovation into commercialization.
Apart from the psychological barrier of not wanting to change to contemporary styles, the other thing is the barrier in terms of technology adoption that you are facing today. So what are these barriers really in technology adoption, in the contemporary methods of running small business?
We do something called Follow Me Homes, which I mentioned, which is where we visit businesses. But we also did a study in partnership with the Ministry of Small Business Enterprises in India. And our aim through the study was to find out, what are the barriers to adoption. The number one was cost and lack of awareness of the benefit. So the initial hesitation was, I'm going to spend this, but I don't know what I'm going to get out of that. The second one was around lack of skilled labor. As you know, in India today, today one in 5 graduates is actually employable. And for small businesses, they scramble to get talent. Most of the top talent goes to the top-notch IT MNCs, and they don't get the top of the top cream. So they don't have enough people in-house who can actually learn and use the product. And the third one is around really the helping them onboard and train. What happens is that a lot of businesses, they don't get the right customer support, they don't get the right vendor support. Once the product is sold, the vendors disappear. So what we are working towards is to make sure that how can we raise the awareness level of what the product does, and then actually give them the right training, because I think it all starts from awareness, and then the benefit automatically comes to them.
Now, staying with a study that you had conducted with the government for SMEs, after that study got conducted, is there any change in the product strategy at Intuit that you incorporated from that study?
That study actually originated out of our learnings when we launched the product into the market. And what we've done is we have further escalated some of those learnings, into the adoption. Specifically, I don't think we've actually changed the product, but what we've done is how we approach the customers. We've done quite a bit of change, which means that we had expectations that customer may be able to use the product right away, which is what we call first use. The minute they buy the product, we assume they'll know how to use it. Through the study and through other Follow Me Homes, we've learned that no, we have to actually be there with them, whether through telesales, whether through web chat, or whether through in person, and help them on board. Because just to give you an example, we've realized that if the first use or the first week when the product is used, if the customer signs on 2-3 times, he's likely to stay on because he understands the benefit. If he doesn't, he's likely to iterate out. So what we've used the study is to actually tie it back into our sales and marketing and training strategies, but the product itself is still pretty much sound as we launch into the market. But we continue to take feedback and say, okay, what new adoptions or what new attributes we need to add, whether it's tax, whether it's VAT, and so on.
How do you feel that Intuit sees its India portfolio grow in the next 5 years to come?
So Intuit, worldwide, we found like the three main themes around small businesses. Number one is how do they grow the business. Number two is how do they manage their payments, and number three is how do they manage the finances. So today in India, we're working with the QuickBooks product to help them manage the finances. Over the long run, we plan to see helping them over their payments process and growing their business, because when those three attributes are served, the entire ecosystem of small business is served. And Intuit does that in the United States today. We help them grow the top line, we help them manage their supply chain and payments, and we help them manage the finances. So over 5 years, as we learn more, we plan to segment our portfolio into those three attributes.
Lovely. On that note, it's time now for us to take a quick break right here on Tea Time. We will stay in conversation with Nikhil Arora, who's a rather dynamic Managing Director and Vice President of Intuit India. You don't go anywhere. We will see you on the other side. Thank you for staying with us on Tea Time. We're discussing the small and medium-sized enterprises in India, and of course startups as well, and the technological divide that the country is facing with Nikhil Arora. Nikhil, now a lot of emotional connect, a lot of relationship building with the startups and small and medium-sized enterprises is what you have to indulge in. So how do you map it out for yourself at Intuit?
Yeah, I think it's a great call out, because the product can only do so much. It's the emotional connect which actually gets the business to be interested in, from a long-term point of view. So, the way we do it is we actually don't go and actually sell our product. We try to be in their journey, and we map out with them as to, what are they trying to achieve by spending time with them. So, for example, we have an Intuit India small blog, which helps small businesses how to learn marketing, how to do advertising. Social networking is a big thing, and a lot of small businesses really don't know how to do that. So we provide free services around helping them understand all other attributes of business, how to register a business, how to contact an accountant. So that gets them emotionally involved, because they feel like they're getting value from us, not just a product. The second thing is also around, we do a lot of so-called startup ecosystem platforms we create. Right. So last year we created something called Intuit Super Angels with ET Now. Right. And it was a platform where we invited a lot of startups to actually pitch their ideas. And from the other side, we got some VCs to actually fund them. And it was aired live on your channel, and we got a great reception. I think the viewership was close to 35 million people. So wow. Getting in their journey, helping them succeed, not just because you're selling them the product, but getting them to the outcome is a great way to develop that relationship. And I actually visit a small business every 2 weeks. I spend one day of my every 2 weeks at their site, in their homes. And I will tell you, there's so many of them now who have invited me back to their homes, have dinner, or actually have chai on their dining table. And I feel so good because I've just not done business, but actually emotionally connected with them.
So a lot of primary research is also something that you really indulge in, rather than just relying on data from secondary research as well.
In fact, I would say, we do 70% of primary and only 30% of secondary.
Now that you mentioned startups, you were talking about this unstructured timing and unmoderated caucuses on how your employees can come up with ideas of startup. What is that all about at Intuit?
Yeah, so we have something called unstructured time, which is a 10% of employees' time today. They can choose and pick any idea they're passionate about. It doesn't have to be related to what we do, small business, consumers, anything mobile. And they can actually pitch an idea and come up with like a minimum viable solution and tell their managers. And if it's good, we fund it. So over the past, we have generated...
Fantastic.
Over the past, we've generated over 500 services out of this idea. And we also have a concept called Two Pizza Team, which is a very startup concept. And what it means is that the team should be no bigger than 2 pizzas can feed. So that is one way to kind of us promote that startup culture, that, hey, keep yourself lean, because, small teams do well, big teams kind of get lost.
So I'll watch out for my appetite the next time I come to your office. Time now for us to finish our game, and we'll continue the discussion. Nikhil, now there was a market research and most of the respondents said, and I quote, that instead of investing heavy amounts of money in technology, I'd rather invest that amount of money in my business and get better return on investment. What do you have to tell these businessmen who have this kind of mentality, which is very widespread in this country right now?
Yeah, I think, I can give you an example from my previous background. So I was running a small business in India for about 2 years, 70 people. And what I realized when I used to ask my accountant, for example, to give me some information because I had to make a business decision, it would take him 5 days, 6 days to just bring that information to me, and by the time I would lose the business. So in short term, I've found that, hey, if I had a technology tool which can just get me the information, I would actually gain a long, very big benefit. And a lot of businesses take a short-term view. They say, okay, I'm putting that much money, what is the return? What they're not realizing is that they're losing the larger opportunity of having that information when they need in the moment. And I think the way to kind of go about is, onus is on us as vendors to actually help them understand that, help them understand the full benefits, that you're not investing in just a technology, you're actually investing in core of your business, because this is the biggest tool they'll get to run their business. And, we found through the customers we have today that the pre and post, when we talk to them what pre was and what it is now, we actually see a great difference in their results. And most of the businesses actually, benefited more than 10 to 15% on their bottom lines.
So it's an interesting tip for the startups right there as well on what Nikhil said. What is the multi-stakeholder approach at Intuit?
Yeah, I think, we believe, we follow like the true north principle, right? The true north is you have your shareholders, customers, and employees. And I personally believe everything starts from employees, that if you have good, engaged employees, you will have a great product and you will have a great outcome. And then you get to your customer, and then of course shareholders are the ones who fund it. And we constantly focus on engagement scores as one of the big metrics. So I get measured as a leader on how engaged are my employees. Because if engaged employees will create engaged customers, which will create a very happy shareholder. So this True North philosophy, which our CEO Brad Smith talks a lot about, is a holistic way for us to really achieve. And we're very proud as a company that we have had highest engagement scores in the industry for the last 5 years.
What about golf now? You are a keen and ardent and avid golfer. Which is the next corporate challenge that you are going to challenge yourself with?
I'm trying to now get back to at least some level of competence I had. So last year I've been doing more running. But I think this year I'm planning to kind of play at the DLF tournament, which happens later this year. Yeah, Gurgaon, and then also Scottsdale, where I started golf. I normally go once a year, and I'm hoping to play in one of the tournaments there, because you're competing with the best, so it raises your level of game.
How does golf help you in your everyday life at work?
So golf, I relate both golf and running to what I call the 3 Ps, right? It's a game about patience, it's a game about practice, and it's a game of persistence. Patience is actually you're only competing with yourself. No matter how good you are, you're only going to get better if you improve your own, kind of level. And mentally, I think that does a lot, because it helps you in your corporate life, because if you're patient, you're looking at things in a more holistic way, it gets you better. Practice, as you may know, there's a 140 of top women golfers today actually come from South Korea.
And they're very disciplined, the Koreans.
Exactly, and the reason is that there's that whole persistence is there, because they're all practicing at one club there, and the persistence day in day out, they're putting in the hours, results in a great result, and that helps in your life, right? And in your business part, persistence is that, hey, you have to have that tenacity. It's not going to have get done overnight. And then practice is just self-evident that you got to put in the hours, otherwise you won't get any. And same thing in business, you got to put in the hours to go and learn, and then sometime unlearn, because a lot of time we learn things and we just get stuck to it. The challenge is to unlearn and go back and relearn those things. Always fall in love with your customer's problem, not your own solution, because the problem has to be the right. Your solution could be wrong. And if your problem is right, you will find the right solution. So in golf also, you've got to always know what your problem is. Maybe your method needs to be changed, or your technique needs to be changed, but the problem remains the same.
But you couldn't have put it better than that, Nikhil. On that note, thank you so much for joining me on Tea Time today. It was indeed a pleasure to have you on Tea Time. That's a wrap from Nikhil Arora and me, Chethy Narula, on Tea Time. I will see you next week again. Until then, enjoy the flight of a good drive, and as cliched as I may always sound, may the sport be with you. I will see you next week again. Goodbye. Take care.